and it develops your critical reading and thinking skills, which again, you also need for the reading comprehension section. Okay, so what is reasoning? The process of using logic to draw conclusions, make decisions, and solve problems. It involves critical thinking and the ability to analyze information to form rational judgments and arguments. All right, so let's start with something easy. Who here knows what or means? O-R. Does everybody know what or means? Okay, so let's see what or means. And we'll give you an example. You can pick a boy puppy or a girl puppy. How many puppies can you have? You can put it in the chat. How many puppies can you have?
Scared to say. How do you do that?
Great job. Okay. To check in at the passport, to check in at the airport, you must have a driver's license or a passport. How many can you have? That's right. Okay, good. You can have one or you can have two. So you can see from context, in the first example, either means one, either but not both. But in the second example, it's either or both, right? And this is the kind of careful reading that you need to do to succeed on this test. It's not that hard so far, right? Okay, so you always want to ask, what is the point of this information? How is it supported? What's wrong with it? Always be asking, why doesn't the support validate the conclusion? Or how does the support validate the conclusion? The number one thing you need to do in these is figure out quickly what is wrong with the reasoning or how to match the reasoning structure to another example. Helpful phrases while you're working on this is the author fails to consider that, or the author takes for granted that. And this probably out of context doesn't mean a lot. So we're going to do an example. And again, I want you to jump in the chat. If you want to vocally answer, I would love that. When we do these online, it's often hard to get people to participate verbally. But if you are into that, shout it out or raise your hand. Darius, if you wouldn't mind if somebody raises their hand, just let me know, because I have most of my screen filled up with the presentation.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay, so here we go. My friends say I will one day have an accident because I drive my sports car recklessly. But I have done some research, and apparently minivans and larger sedans have very low accident rates compared to sports cars. So, trading in my sports car for a minivan would lower my risk of having an accident. Would trading in his sports car for a minivan lower his risk of having an accident?
No.
Why not?
No.
Someone else want to say?
It doesn't change how he drives.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's probably the one that has all the minivan accidents if he drives recklessly, right? So what is happening in this is the person who's making this argument is mistaking correlation with causation, right? The reason his friends are saying he's going to have an accident is because he drives recklessly, not because he drives a sports car. Sports cars don't drive themselves. So let's take a second, and I want to just show you the parts of this, okay? Because the LSAT really likes to mix these things up so that it's not always as clear as this. So we have some anecdotal evidence to start. My friends say I will one day have an accident because I drive my sports car recklessly. But I have done some research, and so here we have some proof, right? Apparently, minivans and larger sedans have a very low accident rate compared to sports cars. So that's your evidence, or your proof. And then in gray is your conclusion. We're looking at the relationship between the evidence and the conclusion. Does the evidence support the conclusion? And I think you all correctly said no, it does not. Hooray. But this is where, I just wanted to show you sort of the anatomy of the question here. You need to understand the relationship between the evidence and the conclusion. Minivans and larger sedans have very low accident rates. Can somebody tell me why? Sorry, say that again.
Probably more people driving, like younger.
Okay, I'm hoping you're saying because they're driving their family and they don't want to kill them.
Yeah,
That's
Right?
what I was.
definitely.
Right? Like, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Why? And they're driving larger groups of people and they're driving more carefully. Not because it's a minivan per se. Minivans go really fast. They can be driven quite recklessly. I'm not telling you that from personal experience. Okay, so now that you're experts at this game, I'm going to have you jump in and tell me what's wrong with this argument here. Of course, Legally Blonde is the best movie ever. All my friends agree. What does this take for granted or fail to consider?
Doesn't represent enough of the form of logical conclusion, or there's a
Okay.
lot more.
So what is the conclusion is Legally Blonde is the best movie ever. And how is that conclusion supported?
Like the friends corroboration, or
That's right. All of her friends agree.
is there an echo when it? Okay,
Something's happening here.
sorry. Let me see.
Darius, are you muted right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if everyone could just stay mute until it's like unmute when you want to talk, obviously, and maybe raising hands might help us a little bit. Okay, but the proof is all my friends agree. Well, unless all you're friends with everybody on the planet and they all agree, right? The proof isn't sufficient to declare Legally Blonde the best movie ever, which is unfortunate because it's really good. I watched it a lot while I was preparing for the LSAT. She takes the LSAT in the movie if you haven't seen it. It's an inspiring tale of a downtrodden girl who gets into Yale. So enjoy. But good job. All right, now that you guys are all warmed up, here's another one. As everyone knows, consuming a moderate amount of wine can be part of a healthy diet. Wine contains antioxidants, which have been proven to support good health. So, what does this fail to consider?
All the bad stuff wine has.
That's right. It does one good thing. This is something that the LSAT does, which is called one piece does not equal the whole puzzle. So it gives you one piece of the puzzle, but we don't have the rest of the puzzle, right? It fails to consider that wine may have other properties that make it less good for you, like giving you a hangover and liver damage, as well as antioxidants, which are good for you. So, let's see. Okay, so we are coming into the portion where I'm going to test your critical mindset. You ready? It's really important that you... Wait, hold on. We're not at that part yet, because I added some more fun examples for you. Hold on. I added a lot of examples today to change this. But then we're gonna do something fun. Okay. What is wrong with this reasoning? Maxine noticed a particular pattern in her husband. Every time he told a lie, he would touch his left ear. On Tuesday, she asked him where he had been the night before. And, touching his left ear, he said, he was at his mother's house. She concluded he was lying and threw him out of the house. Fails to consider, takes for granted. Should she have thrown him out of the house?
No.
Why not?
Because vomiting is an infection is different. That's why he.
That's right. It fails to consider it was touching his ear for another reason. So the first thing you should know is this relationship is doomed. Number two, that understanding this structure is going to help you again soon, okay? So don't forget that. And thank you for the LOL, because really doing jokes without laughter is very difficult. Okay. So did she draw the correct conclusion? No, she did not. She fails to consider that maybe he touches his left ear because he has an itch. What you need to remember is he always does it when he lies, but he likely also does it when he has an itch or for another reason. He doesn't only do it when he lies. So if it said he only touches his left ear when he lies, then she would have been justified in throwing him out, okay? But Maxine does not have enough information upon which to base her conclusion. And what I would say to her husband is run. Okay, let me see if this... Okay, now we're going to play a game. This is your critical mindset game. When I tell you to put your answer in the chat, put your answer in the chat, but please don't do it until I tell you, because I want everyone's honest answer. So you can cue it up, but don't hit send until I say hit send. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to look at the prompt. But I don't want you to be influenced by other people. A big part of being successful at tests like the LSAT and the bar are being able to recognize your weaknesses and overcome them. The better you target your studying to your weaknesses, the better you'll be able to improve. So getting an answer wrong gives you information you can use to do better on this test. Okay? So remember, don't hit send on the chat until I say. I will read the prompt, and the answer is either valid or not valid. Here we go. Every convention attendee must purchase a ticket, and every person who purchases a ticket must do so by using a personal check. Since Charlie is a convention attendee, he must have purchased a ticket using a personal check. Reread it yourself. I'm going to give you a few seconds to formulate your answer. Get them queued up in chat. And go. Okay. If you don't want to be called on, don't answer when I call on you, okay? Good job, guys. If you answered valid, tell me why this is valid. Let's say Sophia. You want to tell me why that's valid? Have you been here before?
No, this is my first time.
Okay, welcome. Why did you pick valid?
Because in the first sentence, it already states that, sorry, I don't like when I hear my voice. It states that a convention attendee must purchase a ticket. And it also states that you're using a personal check as well, which Charlie is an attendee, and he also purchased the ticket, a personal ticket.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Now, Sergio, Chris, Priscilla, tell me why you don't think it's valid. Any one of you.
Somebody else could have purchased Charlie's ticket.
And how would
Yeah,
they
he
have
could have
done
been
that?
given a ticket.
No, every convention attendee must purchase a ticket, and Charlie is a convention attendee.
What if he's a vendor or something else?
So, okay, so you are tricking yourselves. And this is what I'm talking about. Don't trick yourselves, okay? Thank you for speaking up, but I hear you, okay? If somebody else wrote the personal check, his ticket would have still been purchased using a personal check, correct? Like all convention when it says every, it means every. And when it says must, it means must, right? It doesn't say Charlie attended the convention for his newspaper. So of course he didn't pay with a personal check because he has a press pass, right? So don't, and that's why we're doing this, okay? Because a lot of you talk yourselves out of the right answer because it seems too simple. And some of these are more complicated than this, but you want to make sure you get the ones that are easy. If you say every and must, then if you have a parallel, like Charlie, okay, every convention attendee must purchase a ticket, and every person who purchases a ticket must do so by using a personal check. Okay, every convention attendee bought their ticket with a personal check. That's your first conclusion. Charlie is a convention attendee. He purchased his ticket using a personal check. Don't overthink it, right? This is absolutely parallel. Every means every. So Charlie's not special. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm telling you all the stuff on this. Okay, so sometimes the LSAT mixes up the order of these things, but the more you drill on this, the less likely you are to fall for their shenanigans. So you can see down at the bottom there, it says this is from the LSAT trainer. The LSAT trainer has tons and tons of skills drills like this for you to get you ready for answering the question. So what I'm giving you right now are these skill drills to get you ready to answer the multiple choice questions. And we're going to do a few of those together as well. But I want to take you through these drills so that I can introduce you to some of the common tricks that are out there. All right. Okay, we have another one. And again, don't answer until I say. Okay, hold on. I forgot I have some animations in here. All right. Sean is the tallest student in the class. And this is valid or not valid. What we know about the jumping contest is that the tallest student in the class was the winner. Therefore, Sean was the winner. Don't answer yet. Take a minute to consider. Get it queued up. Put your answer in the chat. Does everybody have their answer in the chat? Okay. Okay. Raj, why is this not valid? Okay, if Raj has,
Yeah, I think I missed considering that he's the tallest student in the class.
so you're doubting the fact. So remember I told you that everything in the proof is true. It's the conclusion that you need to be suspect about. So you're doubting that Sean is the tallest. If it's so, just so you guys know, if it says Sean is the tallest, he's the tallest, whether it's by a millimeter or a foot. He's the tallest. They're not lying to you, because this would be a terrible puzzle. This would be impossible if they were allowed to lie to you.
Yes, I over analyzed it and thought maybe he was in the class, but did he even participate? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, but
Yes, I mean it was overthinking, I guess.
yep, overthinking.
Yes.
And look, that's why we do the practice. That's why we do the practice. So, well, I said.
No, I get thinking.
So you're gonna drive yourself insane. Go into the problem with the mindset that you are going to identify the evidence and figure out if it is sufficient to sustain the conclusion. All right? This is like the DNA, right? And you're presenting to the jury the tallest student in the class won, and the tallest student in the class was Sean. Therefore, he must be guilty of winning the jumping contest. Okay? Like that. Learning the different logical flaws is very helpful, but you do not need to memorize their names. Just get used to understanding how to identify the issues. Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Let's do another one. This one's fun. And it's a different kind of proof because Sean is the tallest. This is basically a parallel to the one just before it in terms of how it's set up. I'm not saying that what the answer is to the next one, but okay. Since Sean is the tallest, he was the winner of the contest. Okay. All my friends love my new sweater. I bet everyone at the party will think I'm stylish. All of my friends love my new sweater vest. I bet everyone at the party will think I'm stylish. In the chat, V or NV? Okay, Cameron, tell me why you think this is not valid.
I believe it's not valid. Oh man, this feedback is terrible. Because there could be a lot of people at the party that aren't her friends. I mean, she doesn't necessarily know that all her friends are going to be at that party, yes, but there could be other people as well.
Great job. And since all of you answered the same way, we'll just get to it. His friends might all be members of the Sweater Vest Appreciation Society, and the party might be for the premiere of America's Next Top Model. But the fact that his friends love it does not guarantee that everyone at the party will love it. Okay? And his friends could be lying just to be nice to him. Oh, what a beautiful sweater vest. Aren't you cute? Opinions cannot prove an argument is true. An opinion also cannot prove an argument is false. So watch for opinions, right? It's like the Legally Blonde one. Doesn't matter. It's just their friends' opinions. So it doesn't make it the best movie in the world or the worst movie in the world or anything because opinions are not facts. Okay. And now for some cold, hard facts. The new hybrid vehicle from Honda has an engine that weighs 50% more than that of a standard automobile. Therefore, it is unlikely the car will be a lightweight model. All right? The new hybrid vehicle from Honda has an engine that weighs 50% more than that of a standard automobile. Therefore, it is unlikely that the car will be a lightweight model. 3, 2, 1, valid, not valid. Okay, MJ, I want to call on you, if you're comfortable, to tell me why you didn't think that was valid.
This was a little bit tougher. I kind of came to my conclusion because there's no information about what a standard vehicle weighs. So a standard vehicle could be light as well.
Yeah. And the hybrid vehicle, okay, you're on the right track. We don't have enough information about the design of the car, right? So, good job. Your spidey senses were tingling. And it also used words like, it'll be unlikely that the car will be a lightweight model, okay? The engine is just one piece of the car. Perhaps having a heavy engine allows the car to have a lower weight overall. We don't know. All right. We don't know. So if we don't have enough information, that means that the proof isn't sufficient, okay? So remember that. If you feel like, I'm going to need a little more information. Because remember, one piece is not the whole puzzle. All right, I think, let me see. Do you guys like valid and invalid? We have 2 more. And I've kind of set this up to try to trick you, but I've also preceded you. So try to remember what I said like 10, 15 minutes ago so I don't trick you too, okay? Here we go. This is kind of like the old logic puzzles that we used to have to do. Every car at the shop gets washed, and every car that gets washed also gets new floor mats. That's the fact, okay? Or that's the proof. Since Ted's car was at the shop, it got new floor mats. That's your conclusion. Since Ted's car was at the shop, it got new floor mats. Okay? Every car at the shop gets washed, and every car that gets washed also gets new floor mats. Since Ted's car was at the shop, it got new floor mats. All right? 3, 2, 1, valid or invalid? Brittany, why is this not valid?
Because we're not sure if Ted's car got washed.
Oh, I see.
It was at the shop.
It was at the shop, and every car at the shop gets washed.
Oh, okay.
Then it gets the floor mats. So this is how it tricked you. It took out the middle step, right? So you're like, it's not parallel. But every always means every. So Ted's car was at the shop, and every car that goes to the shop gets washed. So since his car was at the shop, it got washed, and then it got new floor mats. Okay? So they gave you three things. Shop, wash, mats, and they took one away. They jumped to the third thing, right? It was at the shop and it got new floor mats. But it can't get new floor mats without getting washed, because every car that well, I suppose it doesn't say only cars that get washed get new floor mats, but every car at the shop gets washed. And every car that gets washed gets new floor mats. So they took out one of the steps. It's not always going to be exactly parallel. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But this is good. This is good. Better to be tricked now than later when you're taking this test. Okay, now this one is a lot like our terrible wife, Maxine. Okay? So I want you to think back to Maxine and her poor husband with the itchy ear. I'm gonna put this up and let you read it yourself, and I'm gonna give you some time. If somebody wants to put in, if you guys want to put in the chat, like when you're ready to answer, do that for me, because I want to make sure you guys all have enough time to do this, okay? Because I know this is very on the spot. Probably not the best way to study, but it is a good way to demonstrate. So take a good look at this one, and let me know when you're ready to start putting your answers in. But just say ready in the chat, and then we'll put our answers all in together. Ready? Just kidding. Here goes. Okay, valid or not valid? Okay. Do I have everybody? Okay, so I want to ask somebody new if you're comfortable. This is not a name. It's 3VE Crystal Phone. Do you want to tell me why you think this is valid?
Because Tom never wears his leather jacket on rainy days. So it must have been raining.
Okay. So I hear you. And this is a tricky one. And that's part of why I hearkened back to Maxine and her husband, right? Because he touches his left ear when he's lying, right? We only know that Tom never wears his leather jacket on a rainy day because he doesn't want the rain to hurt his jacket and he loves his leather jacket. But he went out on a cold night without his leather jacket on. He might like cold weather, true, but what other weather phenomenon on a cold night might ruin his jacket?
Rain.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful. That's right, snow. Snow might ruin his jacket. We don't know. So we only know he will not wear it in the rain. We do not have enough information to know if there are other situations in which he will not wear his leather jacket, like if it's snowing. And this one's really tricky because he loves his leather jacket, and it's the only jacket that he has. But it's a cold night, so we don't have enough information to say that that's valid, right? And this is where I need you to have your spidey senses tingling, right? Because the Tom question and the Maxine question, they seem true. But just because he'll never wear his leather jacket in the rain doesn't mean that he will only not wear it if it's raining, right? It doesn't say Tom wears his leather jacket every chance he gets except when it's raining, right? Then it would be valid. Okay. And now we're going to move on to something a little bit more fun. Similar, but we're going to go back to what the argument takes for granted. Are you ready? Did you know that Ted is older than Grandma? He must be really old. This argument fails to consider, and this argument takes for granted. That's right. And we have no idea how old Ted is either. Grandma could have been a teen mom. She could be 30. That's right. Okay, good. Nobody fell for this, right? Okay. Yes. Val, when there's not enough evidence, is safe to assume not valid. But these are drills to get your mindset into like learning how to look at evidence, okay? So what the LSAT's going to ask you to do a lot of times is they're going to give you an argument like this, and then they're going to ask you to look at a list of things that, if true, would make the argument better or worse, okay? So these are drills to get you thinking about the right things, but this isn't exactly what you're being asked to do. I wish. Just the word grandma conjures age, right? And that's where, like, Ted could be a grandpa. We don't know. He could be a great grandpa. He could be the oldest man on earth. We don't have any information about Ted to say that we just know he's older than grandma. And we don't know how old grandma is. Okay? Okay, here is another fun one. Again, fails to consider, takes for granted. Recent reports that the mayor received illegal campaign contributions seem to be false. It's just been uncovered that a disgruntled former employee has been leaking stories to the press because of a personal issue with the mayor. Bum, bum, bum. Now, what does this argument fail to consider? That it might still be true. That's right, MJ. Good job. Good job. Maybe the employee is disgruntled because he found out that the mayor was receiving illegal campaign contributions and he was totally devoted to this man's vision or woman's vision of the world, and finds out that they're a fraud, right? That would create a personal issue with the mayor. But disgruntled employees can tell the truth. It doesn't prove. The state of the gruntlement of the employee does not affect whether the story is true or false. So, good job. They're going to do this. I mean, again, I'm trying to show you examples of the kinds of logic that fail and that you're going to be able to identify as failing. Okay. This next one's kind of fun for me. I rarely see my own son's name in public, but I swear it was like this in the book, so I had to include it, and I keep including it because I'm sentimental, Darius. I know you already know this one. Ready? All of the members of the medical staff at our hospital are required to wear name badges. Since Theron was recently hired to work full-time at our hospital, he will be required to wear a medical badge. Okay, and you're going to do fails to consider, takes for granted. Chris. Yes, Marissa, go, go, go. All right, yeah, not all the employees of the hospital are part of the medical staff. Theron could be in janitorial services or accounting. He might work at the cafeteria. Whatever he does, I'll be proud of him. So the requirement may not apply to him. If it said Dr. Theron, well, then you could assume that he would also be required to wear a medical badge. But it's only the medical staff that have to wear a badge. So, great job. All right, this one might be my favorite. Ted is the tallest in his family, and Sharon is the shortest in hers. Therefore, Ted must be taller than Sharon. Fails to consider, takes for granted. Okay. Okay, good, good. What else? In what scenario would this work? Like this could be true in, no, this could be true in only one very narrow scenario. Chris, have you been in my class before? Okay, so this only works. Yes, Alexandra, that's right. If they're from the same family. If, like, Ted could be the son of Peter Dinklage and Sharon could be the daughter of LeBron James. We don't have enough information to make this conclusion, and it doesn't say they're from the same family, so this argument is flawed. Good job. Really good job. Okay. Inferences. Inference. When you're a lawyer, sometimes you have to argue by inference. And this one is really hard to teach. We are going to kind of glide over it today. I want you to be acquainted with this idea. Because sometimes you need to draw inferences from evidence, but you don't actually have 100% proof. But you've got almost all the pieces of the puzzle, so you can infer, right? I'm going to hold my tongue on inference, right? You're looking for the missing piece when you're doing an inference puzzle, like in Lego Movie. I want you to focus your energy and thoughts on figuring out which answer is provable or closest to provable based on the stimulus, okay? And eliminate your wrong answers. All right, are you ready? I mean, depending on the average age of this class, this could go really terribly wrong. But here we go. And I'll tell you why. Younger people are at a bit of a disadvantage here, is all I'll say. Okay. Ted is exactly like his older brother, Bob. Okay? Ted is exactly like his older brother, Bob. Exactly. I just want to emphasize that. It says Ted is exactly like his older brother, Bob. That's your biggest hint. Bob's favorite sport is tennis, and Ted's favorite sport is tennis. Bob likes watching sitcoms, and Ted, you have to figure out how to fill in that blank. Which of the following most logically completes the sentence? A, enjoys watching situational comedies. B, likes to watch them with him. C, prefers to watch dramas. D, wants to be just like Bob. Or E, likes to watch tennis. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to ponder, and then I'll tell you when to enter your answers into the chat. Okay, I gave you the biggest hint I could give you here. So, on the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to put A, B, C, D, or E in the chat, and then we'll discuss why the right one is the right one and the wrong one is the wrong one. Are you ready? Go. Okay, Val, you bring up a really, really good point. Because we're looking for the best answer, which is maybe not always 100% correct, but it's the most correct answer, right? And I think you kind of got it.
Thank you.
Everybody who picked B, you are sentimental, and I appreciate your hearts, but what if I told you, and I don't know this for sure, but that Ted is 15 and Bob is 40? B looks like a less appealing answer, right? Because they probably don't live together anymore. Ted is exactly like his older brother, Bob, but it doesn't say Ted likes to do things with Bob. Doesn't say anything like that. It says he's exactly like him. So we're looking for the answer that most closely mirrors Bob's answer. Right? That's right, Brittany. The answer is A. the reason I said this is a little bit biased is that it says that Bob likes to watch sitcoms. And one of the groups, okay, so the first time I did this question, there were a whole bunch of people who got it wrong because they didn't know what a situational comedy was. So the next time I did the question, I said, I want to make sure everybody understands that a situational comedy is a sitcom, and then everybody got the answer right. So I was trying to eliminate the generational gap, and I ended up just blowing the question. But so they don't always have to be parallel, like exact copies of each other, right? In the answer, but a situational comedy is a sitcom. Like, if they wanted to demonstrate that, right? Like Bob's favorite sport is tennis, and Ted's favorite sport is the one with a fuzzy yellow ball. Like, I mean, they're kind of trying to trick you by changing sitcom to situational comedy in the parallel, but we're looking for the parallel to situational comedy. Likes to watch with them. I mean, I love your heart. Like, that is the most heartwarming answer. Prefers to watch dramas is not correct because we know that they like to do that. They are exactly alike. It does not mean that he wants to be just like Bob, or he likes to watch tennis, or he likes to do anything with Bob. Maybe Ted can't stand Bob. Maybe it's because they like exactly the same things and it's really annoying. Okay? So this is one of those that they're trying to trick you, but this is very simple. Your fill in the blank is exactly, if it says he's exactly like him, then he's exactly like him.
Can you elaborate? Wants to be just like Bob. To think.
Okay, so
Me at least.
no. It says he's exactly like his older brother. It doesn't say he wants to be exactly like his older brother. It says he is exactly like his older brother, right?
They could be separated for years, but
They could be separated by years. They could be like, they could hate each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't have to like it. It doesn't say anything about them liking each other, how old they are. They're just exactly the same. So everything Bob, and it doesn't say Ted wants to be like him either. He just is.
I just wanted
exactly. So if they said Ted is like his older brother, I mean, that wouldn't make the logic question. The thing that makes this the question is the word exactly. Exactly right.
I'll pause myself.
And that's why you can eliminate all of the other answers, because it has to be exactly. Okay, now we're back to this crazy driver. But this was actually an SAT question, if you can believe it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes, which is about how long, give about 1:42 on the LSAT, to look this over. Put your answer in the chat, but don't hit go until I say, okay? And you understand this question really well because I've already given it to you, but look what it's asking you. The reasoning in the driver's argument is most vulnerable to criticism on grounds that this argument, so it's asking you about the logical structure of the argument, which means you have to think a little bit more. So 2 minutes starting now. Okay. Put your answers in the chat. Okay. So, we looked at this flaw earlier tonight, and now they're asking you more specifically to identify the reasoning flaw. This is a classic cause versus correlation issue. Ownership of a minivan is correlated with lower accident rates, but in no way does this mean that owning a minivan causes one to have a lower rate of accidents. Maybe those who own minivans are just naturally more cautious people. Thus, the driver is incorrect in concluding so, right? So the answer is A. An equivalently flawed argument would be, many rich people eat caviar, therefore, if I begin eating caviar, I will get rich. Right? This is, of course, a ridiculous argument because it confuses a correlation with a cause. Eating caviar does not cause one to become rich, if only. Now, one of the things, I was thinking about this while I was waiting for your answers, or for the 2 minutes to expire. One of the things I did, because I found myself, when I would go over my answers, I'd be like, I actually picked A first, and then I talked myself out of it. So what I would do on the margin of my practice test is, if I decided to change my answer, I would leave my original answer, but I would just put an X through it, so that I knew that I picked A first, and then I chose D. And then I would very carefully read through the explanations of why my answer was the wrong answer and the other ones were the wrong answer. So, yes, I will. Good. Thank you, Donna. Okay, so I don't think anybody chose B, but I'm not sure. I think I got some C's. Nope, I got a B. Okay. B, relies on a sample that is way too narrow. Okay, this tries to tempt us with the common sample size language flaw, but we know nothing about the sample size used in the driver's research. We have no idea. So it's a non-factor. It sounds important, but it was a non-factor. Okay? On C, misinterprets evidence that a result is likely as evidence that the result is certain. Okay, so that kind of actually infers a cause from mere correlation, right? It's sort of the definition of it. It sounds really important, and that's what they're going to do. This isn't a case of likely versus certain, though. It's cause versus correlation. So the cause of accidents isn't the kind of car, right? It's a correlation that people who drive certain cars have lower accident rates. It's correlation. That's not the cause of the accidents. And then on D, mistakes a condition sufficient for bringing about a result for a condition necessary for doing so. And again, it tempts you with familiar conditional logic language, sufficient and necessary conditions, right? Here's an example of mistaking a sufficient condition for a necessary condition. Switching from a sports car to a minivan, sufficient condition, causes the driver to drive more cautiously, necessary condition. Because John has begun driving more cautiously, he must have switched from a sports car to a minivan. No, that is not necessarily true. The conclusion in this argument has mistaken a sufficient condition for a necessary condition. And this is another way of saying that the argument has reversed the logic, right? This isn't the kind of flaw. This is about drivers reckless driving, right? That would be the cause of the danger. Okay, and then let me do E, and then we can talk more. Relies on a source that is probably not well informed. I don't think any of you picked E, but E is ambiguous, right? It seems kind of true, but we don't know. And remember what I'm telling you, the LSAT's not lying to you. What they put in the prompts is true. The conclusions they draw from that are what are suspect. Okay? So what source are we talking about? His friends, the research. Either way, we have no way of knowing or not if they're well informed. Right? Remember I highlighted here, the evidence is minivans and larger sedans have very low accident rates. That's the proof. But his conclusion from that proof is flawed because the proof is based on correlation, right? Not causation. And this is a common way they try to trick you. They put in a lot of words like sufficient and necessary. Be skeptical because you're probably your first instinct is right. And if it feels like it's trying to be too important, just be skeptical about choosing that answer, like D. Okay, somebody had a question. Okay, hopefully that means I answered it. And we are going to do, hold on.
Okay,
Two
so
more.
deep.
Go ahead.
Which round? I can't word it right now. Or the feedback, but that's what the gist of. You flip the logic. I think you said.
So yeah, D is taking a conditions. Okay, so D is it's using the wrong terms. So we're not talking about conditions. We're talking about causation and correlation. So it's talking about the wrong things, but it sounds really important, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the more you do these, the more you'll see how they try to confuse you. Okay.
Hope I get a D. That's all. Right, if I could.
Yeah. Like you'll get there. I always even tell my students, like for the bar, for your exams, do everything with the answers right in front of you. Because if you can't do it with the answers right in front of you, right, then you can't do it. So except when you're taking your timed practice test to see where you are, do a question, then look at the answer so you can learn from it. So you don't repeat that mistake 10 times and then go, oh, I'm such a dum-dum, I'm never going to pass this test, right? Keep looking and read the explanation until you really get it. Because sometimes your brain gets filled with, it's just too many words, right? And they all sound important and you're nervous and you want to do good on this. And it's hard to, that's why these drills really can help you start to separate the wheat from the chaff. And I describe it kind of like the matrix. Like once you understand what's happening in the questions, the answers are going to pop out to you a lot better. All right, so this one's a little bit longer and a tiny bit more complicated. I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes for this one. And well, notice pattern. Yes. Thou, I promise you, if you study 2 hours a day until the LSAT, maybe 4 hours on the weekend, you're going to get this. Like, you'll really start to see all the little tricks that they play, all the little words that they put in there that, I'm not saying that when they say sufficient and necessary, like that's never the answer, but it's only the answer if it's in the prompt. Okay? Okay. I'm giving you this one. You got putting 3 minutes on the clock and go.
I'm still seeing the old question.
Same here.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
It's
Yeah,
almost like it's frozen.
yeah, I'll get in contact with her shortly. Apologize for the inconvenience.
It's fine. It's a bathroom break.
There you go.
Okay, time is up.
Oh, there you go.
No, sorry, I had to run and get a Band-Aid. I cut
No
my finger
problem.
this morning and it just started bleeding again.
No, no problem.
Okay. I did walk away for 3 minutes. Sorry.
I think you
Okay.
can press the next
Oh
screen.
no. It didn't go. Dang it. Oh no. Darius, you really should have my text.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my office, which is not in my house. It's in a little building outside my house. So I just had to take a hike. Okay. Well, let's do this one together since I just wasted 3 minutes of your time and I really apologize. But I was washing dishes this morning and I got this new knife and it's very sharp and I'm very glad of that, except that I was putting other silverware in the tray and I nicked the very tip of my right middle finger. So it has been getting hit all day and it just started gushing all over my desk. Okay, so good thing I turned my camera off so you cannot see all the blood. All right. Editorialist. News media rarely cover local politics thoroughly. Local political business is usually conducted secretively. This is a person's opinion. These factors each tend to isolate local politicians from their electorates. This has the effect of reducing the chance that any particular act of resident participation will elicit a positive official response, which in turn discourages resident participation in local politics. They love questions like this. These are long. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do while you're practicing, read the prompt, then read the first answer. So what we're trying to do here is find which answer is most strongly supported by the editorial statements, right? So which answer do you think that this writer would agree with? Okay, that's what you're looking for here. So because this is somewhat short, read it, read the first answer, and leave it on your list or take it off your list. Read the prompt again, then read the next answer. Would the person agree with it or disagree with it? I always encourage you not to stop when you think you have the right answer, because on the LSAT, as Val pointed out, there could be a better answer, but you haven't seen it yet. So how about we do 1 minute of going, well, we can go through them all together. That's going to be better. Okay. Again, I'm not going to read it every time, though. I'm not going to do it my whole method. The second, B, local political business should be conducted less secretively because this would avoid discouraging resident participation in local politics. It seems like they're arguing that it shouldn't be secret, so I would leave that on the list. C, the most important factor influencing a resident's decision as to whether to participate in local politics is the chance that the participation will elicit a positive official response. The author doesn't address that. They're saying that because essentially people are uninformed and the political business is conducted secretly, that discourages people from participating. And because they don't participate, it reduces the chance of any particular act of a resident eliciting a positive response, right? And that discourages participation in politics. You see, this is getting very tongue twisty. You're going to be so stressed out. And now we're going to read another answer that's kind of long and also confusing. More frequent, thorough coverage of local politics would reduce at least one source of discouragement from resident participation in local politics. That one sounds kind of good too. And E, if resident participation in local politics were not discouraged, this would cause local politicians to be less isolated from their electorate. I mean, I'm shaking my head because I don't think that's what he's saying at all, right? Okay, so do you guys have a favorite? If you have a favorite, put it in the chat, but we're going to go through each one. Okay, Chris, coming out strong. Local political business should be conducted less secretively because this would avoid discouraging resident participation in local politics. I feel like that's a pretty good answer. MJ, okay. More frequent, thorough coverage of local politics would reduce at least one source of discouragement from resident participation in local politics. Okay, I did not eliminate B or D, so those are both strong answers. Anybody feel strongly about A, C, or E? Okay, Oneida, way to step out. All right, so A. Ooh, the crystal phone likes E. Okay. A. Okay, you should always be suspicious of the word should. There you go. That's your hint. It should tingle your spidey senses. A confuses the terms less likely and unlikely, right? The stimulus tells us isolation makes politicians less likely to respond positively, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are unlikely to do so. A drop from 95 to 85 is still likely, just less so. So we can't conclude something is unlikely simply because the likelihood has decreased. Unlikely is an absolute judgment, while less likely is relative. The distinction is crucial on the LSAT. The answer is incorrect because isolation might only reduce the chance slightly from 20 to 19, meaning positive responses are still not likely. Okay, B. Chris, you liked B. Oneida, you liked B. This option introduces the idea of what should be true. Pew, 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 pew. Should always set off your alarms. But the LSAT focuses strictly on what is true based on the stimulus. Since the stimulus doesn't discuss what ought to happen, this answer goes beyond the scope. They like to do this, okay? If should is almost always not the right answer. Unless the prompt says, what should the person do? Okay? Whenever there's should in there, that starts adding value judgment. What we're looking for is which one of these is most strongly supported by the editorialist statements, right? Which one of these statements would the person agree with? But they're not, the editorialist isn't saying what should happen. They're saying what they're observing, right? Okay. C. This choice assumes something not supported by the passage. The stimulus only tells us that the chance of a positive response is influenced by isolation, not that is the sole or most important factor. Other influences could be at play. So this answer is too narrow, right? The author is not saying what is most important, what is least important. They're just laying out these factors. D, to the D peeps, D is correct. This option correctly follows the logic laid out in the passage. If local politics happen in secret and the media isn't covering them, politicians become isolated. That isolation reduces their responsiveness, which in turn discourages public participation. And this follows the chain of reasoning presented. And I had one brave person who liked E. Well, I didn't hear from all of you, but that's my fault. And I apologize again. Okay, E. This choice mistakenly treats the reasoning as a formal conditional statement and tries to apply the contrapositive. They're using a really big word there. So, if resident participation in local politics were not discouraged, this would cause local politicians to be less isolated. So, they're flipping it. They're, okay, in this answer. And it sounds kind of good because the editorialist is saying that the politician's behavior discourages participation, but the opposite is not true. Okay? The language in the passage is probabilistic rather than strictly conditional. Since the statements aren't absolute, applying a contrapositive is invalid. Okay, that is not my favorite answer that the LSAT explainers ever gave, so I'm going to put it in more layman's terms. The author here, the editorialist, is saying lack of news media on local politics and the secretiveness of political business. And part of the reason that the political business is a secret is because it's not being covered in local politics, right? I mean, on the local news, sorry. What E tries to do is to draw the conclusion that residents are being discouraged from participating in local politics. And that's not true, right? That's not what the editorialist is saying. What the editorialist is saying is we need more light on local politics so people know what they're watching, right? It's drawing a conclusion that isn't warranted from the facts, right? It's going a step too far. And again, this juristeducation.com site, they have some really good, I mean, like I said, I'm not super happy with the explanation for E because it's a little bit too complicated. But for the most part, they also have some good sample questions. And then we have, and this one I'm going to do 2.5 minutes because I still need time to walk you through reading comprehension and the writing portion of our evening. But this is a fun one. And you can have your 2 minutes starting now, and I'm staying here this time. Okay. On the count of 3, put your answer in the chat. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this was a fun one, right? I have to close the chat for just a second. But this is one where we have to look at the exact structure, okay? So we're looking for parallel logic, okay? This is our proof. Most players of video games are male. And then here's our conclusion. Therefore, video game manufacturers should not bother making any video games aimed at girls or women. Okay? So we are looking for the exact same logic on a different topic. So here we've got most avid cyclists are males. So far, so good. Our conclusion, therefore, bicycle manufacturers should make, most of their bike frames to fit men. Not any, right? They should, if this were the answer, it would be not make any bike frames to fit women. So we're going to cross that one off our list. Boom, boom. Okay, B. Most Americans have cell phones, so we're starting with most again, so that's good. Therefore, most Americans should not bother to maintain normal land-based phones. Okay, what is wrong with that? The argument gets to something that should not be done, but it states what customers should do rather than what manufacturers should do. So it switches from like a company, right, to behavior. So that one is not the best choice. All right. They all start with most, so I don't need to circle most every time because it's starting to look like my desk in here up on this screen. Most people use Windows computers. Therefore, software producers should not bother to make any software for Macintosh computers. Wow, that sure looks pretty close. I'm going to circle that one. I'm not going to cross it off yet. Most lawyers, which hopefully you will all be one today, who need glasses or contact lenses, therefore optometrists should aim. So this again, this is a positive. It's telling what they should do versus what they shouldn't do. And it's only some of their advertising at the legal profession, right? So it's not quite the same, so we're going to cross that one out. And hopefully you guys see how it's not the same kind of proof. It's saying what optometrists should do, and it's with some. Whereas our example means don't make any games for women, right? Versus some advertising towards the legal profession. Okay. Most Labrador retrievers, we got most again, are easy to train. Therefore, a person who wants an obedient dog should consider. Okay. It's consider getting a Labrador retriever. Okay. Well, it's not a very definitive statement here, and it is not in the negative. So we're going to cross that one out. And then between B and C, you can probably see that C, we've got our most people use Windows computers. Therefore, software manufacturers, same as video game manufacturers, should not bother to make any software for Macintosh computers. C is the correct answer because it follows almost to the letter. You just change video games for computers and you've got exactly the same logic structure, the same flawed argumentative strategy, right? Okay. And now, I have to figure out how to erase my screen. And then, there we go. We are moving on to the next slide. I got to get rid of this pencil though. How do I get rid of the pencil? Oh, come on now. There we go. It really doesn't want to let me get rid of this pencil. I still have a pencil. Okay. 4 reading comprehension passages of about 60 to 80 lines each. They are usually quite boring, about things you don't necessarily care about or ever wanted to learn about. However, it's really important that you not fall asleep. 3 of the passages will be written by one author. The 4th will be a combination of 2 shorter passages from 2 different sources discussing the same general subject. 5 to 8 questions per passage. Both law school and practice of law revolve around extensive reading of highly varied, dense, argumentative, and expository texts. For example, cases, codes, contracts, briefs, decisions, and evidence. This reading must be exacting, distinguishing precisely what is said from what is not said. It involves comparison, analysis, synthesis, and application. For example, of principles and rules. It involves drawing appropriate inferences and applying ideas and arguments to new contexts. Law school reading also requires the ability to grasp unfamiliar subject matter and the ability to penetrate difficult and challenging material. Read every word and try to absorb the content the first time. If you have to keep going back to the passage for each question, you will waste time and you may make errors because skimming leads to a loss of nuance. Now, oh my goodness, has everyone read what I sent you? Okay, so each set of questions in this section is based on a single passage or a pair of passages. The directions for reading comprehension are always the same, so I would just encourage you to familiarize yourself with the instructions for the different sections so you know exactly what you're doing. Okay, you're going to choose the best answer and choose the response that most accurately and completely answers the question. I'm going to skip this just because we're running a little bit behind, and I want you to read the section from our handout, and I will actually put the first question on the board. So I'll give you 3 minutes to read it, and then we'll do the first question, but I'll leave the first question on the board so that you guys can see, and I promise I won't leave my desk. I won't leave you hanging again. So from the packet, read the first page, and then answer this question.
Oh boy, why did it go silent?
Sorry, what?
Oh. Where's the...
You're reading the passage that Darius sent you this afternoon via email.
Oh.
It's page 1.
Okay, thank you.
It's not quite a full page. All right, believe it or not, that was 3 minutes. Now, this first question is fairly easy as far as LSAT goes, okay? You do need to know what the word extraneous means or have a good vibe for it, right? So the word extraneous, and then if you're looking in context, that's also really helpful. Context clues, which you should all be pretty good at by now. Okay, so hang on. I'm on the wrong page. Okay, paragraph 2, extraneous. This may seem like an extraneous matter. Okay, does that mean a matter of no importance? Maybe. Indispensable. This may seem like it's the most important matter. No, not necessarily. This may seem like a bewildering matter. Like if you just substitute the words, bewildering doesn't fit there, right? Fallacious doesn't fit there, right? Because we already know that we're supposed to take what's said in the prompts as true, so the author probably isn't setting up this important thing to be like, I was lying, because fallacious means, not true. Exuberant, that means like, woohoo, let's go, pass that LSAT. Probably also not the vibe here. So superfluous. So extra, the root word of extra means additional, right? It's more than. So super also means more, right? So we could match extra and super because they both mean more, and see that they could switch places, right? Even if you don't know the meaning of words. But I do think, and this is just general rule for me, all through my life, ever since, and this is like, if any of you are around my age, you'll get this reference, and the rest of you will be bewildered. But there was a character in Say Anything who like crossed out all the words she learned in the dictionary, and I didn't exactly do that, but from a very young age, I have a practice of looking up every word I didn't know in the dictionary and keeping like a sort of a vocabulary list. So I always have a vocabulary list with my notes in law school, with my notes and everything else that I've ever done in my life. So I actually have a GRE word power on my desk right now so that when I have a minute, because words and their precise meanings are really important in the law, and just in life in general. And I like to know, as many words as I can. So this question was very easy to me, but I would just encourage you as a practice to learn the meaning of words. Indispensable means the opposite of extraneous, right? Indispensable means you have to have it. Extraneous means it's additional, extra. Bewildering means confusing and is not relevant in the context of the sentence. Choice C is incorrect because fallacious means false or wrong. And D is wrong because the prefix of the word is the same, X, right? Which is meant to trick you. But exuberant means elated or enthusiastic and is irrelevant to the context of the sentence. Extraneous most nearly means superfluous, and superfluous means trivial, additional, extra, not essential. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a more traditional question that they like to ask, which is, what is the author's motivation for writing the passage? And a lot of times they really wax philosophical here and really get into some stuff that just, anyway, read these. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to read these answers, and then I will see what you think. Okay. Put your answers in the chat. What is the author's motivation for writing the passage? And while I watch your answers pour in, I'm going to just say this is almost always one of the questions, the motivation, so you can automatically be thinking of the motivation as you are reading through. And this is kind of like The Price is Right. You want to get as close as you can without going over, okay? So we're looking for the best answer. But sometimes the answer might be too broad, right? We want the narrowest answer that expresses the author's motivation. Come on, give me some more here. Now, this is a complicated science passage, right? This is not something you guys are probably talking about every day. I'm going to go through these in a little bit of a different order just because I want to highlight different things that they're trying to do to trick you. So B, to educate the reader on the latest astroparticle physics discovery and offer terms that may be unfamiliar to the reader. Well, one thing I think we know from this passage is this isn't like a new experiment. So this isn't the latest cutting edge astroparticle physics. And astroparticle physics, guess what? Not mentioned one time. Not one time. So you can eliminate that one. We don't know if, no date is given. So I guess I know a little bit about this this topic ahead of time. Sometimes knowing more, like if you are actually a physicist, sometimes the questions that are in your bailiwick will mess you up because you're inserting your exterior knowledge. But we don't know if this is astroparticle physics. Sometimes they just throw in big words like that to make you get excited, okay? C, to argue that humans are totally blind to the realities of the world by presenting an experiment that proves that electrons are not what they seem on the surface. Okay, this is really broad, and it doesn't accurately affect what the writer's views are. While the author does appear to reflect on opposing views of human understanding, this goes way beyond that, right? He's not saying, oh, we can never understand the world, like we're blind to the world. It's just saying that what we can perceive with our eyes and what we can perceive with instruments are sometimes different, right? And so we need both, potentially. They're not actually advocating for a position, they're just explaining. Okay, D, you guys like this, to reflect on opposing views of human understanding. All right, this is the Price is Right answer. Because this is a very, very broad generalization, and it is probably the second best answer. E, to disprove classical philosophy by comparing more accurate technology to the speculations of ancient philosophers. Well, the author never says classical philosophy is wrong or directly attempts to debunk it, right? It uses the classical model of observation, unbiased observation, as a lead-in to teach this lesson about observation. But A, to bring light to an alternative view on human perception by examining the role of technology in human understanding. Ding, 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 ding. Best answer is A. Yes, Brittany. MJ, see, you're tricking yourself. Alexandra had it. This is a challenging question because the author's purpose is somewhat open-ended. The author concludes by stating that the questions regarding human perception and observation can be approached from many angles. Thus, the author does not seem to be attempting to prove one thing or another. Okay. Now here is, a fun one, the last one. Which of the following most closely resembles the way in which paragraph 4 is structured? Okay, so now we're looking at structure. So what I did for this one, hopefully this is going to work. Okay, I put the structure of paragraph 4 up here for us to look at. I have put, let's see. Okay, so underlined, okay, the conundrum is underlined. A conundrum, that could go on your vocabulary list if you don't know, is a problem, the question, the confusing thing. A conundrum is really more of like a confusing thing. So while our proof is this exposition here. While humans now have a better understanding of electrons, the fact remains that people cannot entirely perceive how electrons behave without the use of instruments. We can only observe one of the mentioned behaviors with our own eyes, which only provides a partial understanding of the entire function of electrons. Okay? Therefore, we are forced to ask ourselves whether the world we observe is objective or if it is subjectively perceived by humans. Or an alternative question, can man understand the world only through machines that will allow them to observe natural phenomena? Okay, so what we're looking for, though, in this answer is, how is this paragraph constructed? Okay, we're not looking for what does all this mean. We're looking for which answer most closely models the construction of that paragraph. So A offers one solution, questions a solution, then ends with an alternative solution. Is that what that paragraph is doing? No, thank you, MJ. Okay, B, it presents an inquiry, explains the detail of that inquiry, then offers a solution. No, because there's no solution at the end, right? It's more inquiry, just like science. Okay, it presents a problem, explains the details of the problem, and then ends with more inquiry. Does that sound like what's happening? Okay, let's keep C on the list. D, it gives a definition, offers an explanation, then ends with an inquiry. Doesn't give it, I don't see a definition. I mean, I did give you a definition of the word conundrum, but that wasn't on the page. So I think you can eliminate D. E, presents a problem, offers an example, then ends with a solution. So every single one that says that ends with a solution, there's no solution, right? There's no solution. So you can automatically eliminate A, B, and E because they all say that it ends with a solution. There's no solution. So you would go between D and C, but C literally starts with the word, C is the best answer because a problem is a conundrum. So, okay, we're starting correctly. Explains the details of that problem. It does that. And then it ends with more inquiry about that problem. C is your best answer. Okay. Unfortunately, I really thought I shortened this. Didn't I say that I shortened this, Darius? But I didn't. The argumentative writing part is the easiest part. I will send you the sample essay we were going to go over. I'll have Darius send that out to you. These are the books that I used to prepare your presentation this evening. My favorites are the LSAT Trainer by Mike Kim. I just like how he breaks everything down so that you really understand the dynamics of what are happening in these questions. Mometrics, I'm not really vibing with that one so much, but it does offer 3 full-length practice tests. There's 1 in the book and 2 online. And then the LSAT Premium Prep from Princeton Review. I like Princeton Review. I like the way they break things down. It's kind of similar to LSAT Trainer. But it's a little more like quippy and interesting. They also have 2 full tests. I think 1 is online and 1 is in the book or something like that. But they really do walk you, all of these walk you through the solutions to the problems. Can we see the slides again or send us a copy? I can send you guys a copy of this presentation. I'll just make this into a PDF and have Darius send it to you so you can see the answer to the argumentative writing. The argumentative writing, it's your classic 5-paragraph essay. You want to, do an introduction that introduces the problem. You want to say what your perspective is. Back it up with the support from whatever the prompt that you're given, right? And then maybe 2 paragraphs of your opinion, and then 2 paragraphs of contrasting, right? Like what other people think and why they're wrong, and then finally conclude. Okay, make sure you use your spell check, your grammar check, because what's most important is that you make a clear, concise argument, you take a viewpoint, and that you present your argument logically and grammatically. Okay, it was really lovely to meet you guys all tonight. Crack LSAT, that's my new favorite one because you don't have to log in. On Law Hub, you log in and then you get a million bajillion emails. I don't think we're going to have a session before the June LSAT, but we can discuss.
That we can.
For sure, I'm not opposed to it. Hopefully you guys are available like on a weekday when I am less tired and more in my office. That would be nice because in my office I have 2 screens and so it's much easier for me to manage the chat and the PowerPoint. But also let Darius know if you guys want another one. But I will send you these slides.
Yeah. And then I can send them as well, Professor Wentworth. So if you want to send those over to me, I'm more than happy to send them as well.
Yeah, and go finish your law school applications. Let's do this.
Yeah. And if you have any questions or need support, feel free to email me. Everyone has my email. As it's the one that I sent the confirmation email to. So feel free to email me back there. Or if you want to meet or anything I can do for y'all, please feel free to let me know. But yeah, just want to thank everyone for attending today. Thank you to Professor Wentworth as always. I would definitely love to have another one of these, so we'll definitely be discussing. But yeah, again, if we can support you in any way or want to get in contact with us, please feel free to email us, call us, or whatever it may be. Or if you want to come on the campus, I'm really happy to meet with you all. So thank you everyone for attending, and again, thank you, Professor Wentworth. Any parting words?
Fill out your applications. Don't be afraid to get the answers wrong. You learn more from a wrong answer than a right answer. Okay? And also, if you want to be a lawyer, you're going to have to learn how to be wrong because the law is complicated and difficult, and that's why we argue about it.
Awesome.
Have a great night, guys, and good luck.
Good night.